Good afternoon, welcome to Rundlii Gaming. So we're going to be doing another video. This is on a reprinted game. It was actually a really old game, I think back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Kind of older game. I don't know the year exactly, but this is actually a remake that was done in 2012. This is for the game of Dungeon. So some people may remember this from long ago. They have updated the components quite a bit, a lot of the artwork. So this one does look quite a bit better than the older one they had. I would say though that the components still aren't super good, but I mean they are vastly improved over the original. The people that actually made this one is Wizards of the Coast. So I mean, so it is definitely a reprint. It's just they added a little more quality to it, made it a little bit nicer as far as the board and stuff goes. For anyone that's ever played Dungeons and Dragons, this is very much similar to your Dungeons and Dragons dungeon crawl. So if you want to play like D&D without the RPG element, this might be kind of an okay game for you. It's a very simplistic thing that you could probably still teach younger kids to play without too much difficulty, or without too much difficulty on it. Now, you have these player markers. They don't stay on particularly well, but you can put the little cardboard in it and stand them up. And there's 4 different classes. You have your rogue, which is the green one, your cleric, which is the blue one, your fighter, which is the purple one, and the red one, which is your wizard. Now each of these are a little bit different as far as how they play and what areas of the board that they're more ideal to be in, as well as how much gold is required for you to actually to win the game itself. Now it does actually come with a couple charts down here to kind of give you some additional information. Now, as a rogue, you're going to be better at finding secret doors. So whenever you go to like a secret door somewhere on the map, because there's a couple of them located around, you need to roll between a 3 and a 6. Like in this case, I would have found it with the rogue. Whereas the cleric, fighter, and wizard all need a 5 or a 6. So I would have still found that with anyone else too, but it is a little bit easier to find it with a rogue than it is with your other classes. Now, as far as money, you need to get 10,000 gold pieces with both the cleric and the rogue. So they need 10,000 in order to get back to the Great Hall and win. So that's their goal in the game. The fighter, which is purple, requires 20,000. The wizard requires 30,000. So it also gives you some information as far as what sections of the map are a little more ideal for each of these players. They usually recommend that if you're playing a rogue to stay between the first level, second level, and third level. And you'll see 2 different third levels here. It would be these red rooms here. The second level are the orange ones here. The first level are these yellow ones here. Then you have higher level stuff, which is like your 4th level, which is the purple. Your 5th level is like this darker blue. And the last level, which is 6, is going to be like this darker green color here. And we're going to take out a couple of these just so we can actually kind of demonstrate how each of these players play. So we're going to keep the... Actually, we probably should keep a mage. So we're going to keep the mage and the cleric. Now, as far as pieces go, there's actually 2 of each of these. So it allows you, if you want to play like a wizard, you have the choice of a male wizard or a female wizard. So like if I want to play a male wizard, I can just grab this one, or if the player wants to play a female, then they have a secondary one. So each of these colors has 2 of those. There's 2 rogues, there's 2 clerics, there's 2 fighters, there's 2 mages. And so just depending on what gender you want to play with each of them. Now on your turn, and it'll actually give you some little helpful things on here as well. You'll have a sequence of your turn. The first thing is you're going to move for your turn. So you get to move 5 spaces per round. There's another thing we're going to do since we are playing with a wizard, is we're going to give them some spells. At the start of the game, you'll actually roll a d6, and then you're going to add 6 to it. So in this case, I rolled a 5 plus 6 is 11 spells. So I'm going to grab 3 of these teleport spells. We'll grab 5 of these fireball. So we're at 8 so far, and then we'll grab 3 of these lightning. And these are going to be the spells that this wizard has throughout this particular game. He can, this character can come back to the Great Hall here and gradually get their spells back. It takes 1 spell per turn. But that is pretty much how spells work. And I'll kind of give you some more information when we actually use some of these spells as far as what they actually do. But one is like a lightning bolt, the other one is a fireball, the other one's like a teleport ability. So, as I mentioned, we have a sequence of play, which is basically turn order. So the first thing we'll do is move. So we're going to start out with a cleric, so that would kind of explain what that does. And we're going to probably go ahead and start this off easy by going towards one of these level 1 rooms. And you'll see little cuts in the stone. Each of those are 1 space. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, and the cleric's going to go into this room here. Now we know that this section here is level 1 monsters, so we're actually going to grab one of the monsters from the level 1 deck. It'll have a number 1 on it with like a dragon thing on it. Now when we reveal this, you're going to see a bunch of numbers on it and like the name of the monster. So you have a skeleton, a little picture of a skeleton, and then depending on your class, there are going to be symbols on the bottom and then numbers below it. So if I were a rogue, I need to roll a 5 plus on 2d6. If I'm a cleric, I need to do 4 plus. And a fighter, 3 plus. A wizard, 6 plus. If I had a fireball or electricity, it'll be a 2 plus. So if I burn a spell in here, it would only be a 2 plus in order to do it. So in this case, I'll roll my 2d6, which is a 7. I only need a 4, so therefore I will succeed here. Ties do go to the player. Now there are a bunch of these little tomb tokens here. You'll actually put that in the room once you clear. And now since I defeated a level 1 monster, I go ahead and grab a level 1 treasure. In this case, it'll give you the amount of gold it's worth. In this case, it is worth 250. I will go ahead and secretly put this face down because I don't want anyone to actually know how much I have. And as I mentioned, the cleric is trying to get 10,000, so ideally the higher level rooms are going to give you a lot more gold, so as a cleric, you're probably better off trying to move towards those rooms that are a little more difficult in order to get that additional money. Alright, so that was a cleric. Now we're going to play with the wizard. So 1, 2, 3. They're going to try to look for a secret door here. Now if I fail, my turn ends. So I have to try to roll between a 5 and a 6. And they do not get it. So that will end their turn. And this would go around to everyone else that was playing. Now this person gets to move 5 again, so they're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're not quite in this room. The wizard is going to try to get open this door. Whenever you do get into the door itself, your character does remember that secret door for the rest of the game, so they don't actually have to break it again. So 6. So I did open this door. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because what I'm going to try to do with this character is move them into the higher level area. They need to get 30,000 in order for them to actually win there. So they do have to try to get a lot more money. So what they're going to try to do is go into the high level stuff and see if they can clear it. So it goes back to the cleric here, and they have 5 spaces they can move, but they're going to take 1 to go into the room here. Now this is going to be a level 4 monster, which will be a different stack, because you'll see a 4 in the back here with a dragon. In this room, it is a drow. It takes 10 with a rogue, a 9 with a cleric, a 7 with a fighter, an 8 with a mage, 7 with a fireball, or 7 with lightning. So it's going to be a little difficult. I have to get at least a 9 with the 2d6. And it was a 5. So that's not good. So we did not succeed. So what we're actually going to have to do now is roll 2d6, and you're going to have this chart here. What this chart shows you is if the monster is still alive when it's their turn, they're going to attack you back. And this will determine what actually happens to you. So I rolled a 10. In this case, I'm wounded. I drop 1 random treasure and retreat 1 space, lose 1 turn. So I will retreat 1 space. I drop a treasure. Now, they also come with these little number tokens. And what these number tokens are for is on the side of the board here, you're going to have different numbers. So the drow. So we're going to use the number token and put it on the room that we lost in. We're going to put the drow in number 1 here. And then the treasure that I dropped, I will put underneath that room 1 with the drow. So if I go back in there and defeat the drow, I get my treasure back. And that just kind of annotates that this particular room has that particular monster in there. And there's 12 different spaces you can have here, so it does give you a lot of different places that you can put your monsters at. Alright, so we're back to the mage here. So they're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every so often you're going to see a little bit bigger rooms that are kind of part of the hallway. There are 3 encounters in each of those. You don't actually fight each of those encounters all at one time, but once you defeat that room 3 times, so pretty much each time you defeat it, you get one of these little markers here. And once there's 3 in one of these hallway rooms, you no longer have to fight in there anymore. So in this particular scenario, what we're going to do... Okay, so you have a couple methods here. Either I could have fought this monster without actually knowing what's in it first. What this is casting your spell like outside of the doorway. This will keep your mage safe, but you don't actually know what you're going to encounter. If you go inside, you reveal, but the monster can attack you afterward. So there is that trade-off. But let's go ahead and say that I'm going to fight it before I come into the room. And this is mostly to keep myself safe. So what I have to do is I have to declare what spell I'm going to use. It has to be either a lightning bolt or my fireball. I'm going to go ahead and try to shoot a fireball into the lair. Now at this point I reveal a level 6 monster. So I take one of these randomly. In this case, and this is where you're going to see the different levels matter a little bit differently. But if I were a rogue, I need a 12 to defeat the purple worm, or an 11 as a cleric, a 10 as a fighter, a 12 as a mage. But with a fireball, it requires at least an 8. With the lightning bolt, it requires at least a 6. So with a lightning bolt, I would have been better off here, but I only need an 8 because I have a fireball. Alright, in this case I rolled a 7, so it's not quite powerful enough to actually do anything. But because I cast a spell before I came into the room, he's not going to attack me back, but he is currently in that lair now. So now we're going to put the number 2 down in the lair to show that we do have that monster in that room. But because I didn't go into that room, he's not going to attack me back. but I do lose a spell. So the cleric's gonna now go again and go back into the room, and they're gonna try to fight this drow again. Probably not a very good monster to fight because again it is a 9+, so it's probably gonna be rough, but if I don't kill it, I don't get my treasure back, and it's gonna be a little difficult to get through the other rooms here, so. Well, I got Snake Eyes, so obviously I lost again. And we're gonna go through what the monster does to me this round. In this case I rolled a 9. Wounded, drop 1 random treasure, retreat 1 space, lose 1 turn. Actually, I think I was supposed to lose my last turn, so we could actually say that didn't happen. Alright, so let's go back to the mage, because we actually are supposed to skip that cleric move. Alright, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just shoot a lightning bolt without entering the room. And because the purple worm that we fought earlier is a 6+ with a lightning bolt, it should be a little bit easier. We got a 9, so we did defeat it. So we'll put this with a level 6 monster discard pile, and then we draw a level 6 treasure. Alright, so the level 6 treasure is a magic sword. Normally you would put this face up in front of you, however wizards cannot actually use magical swords, so that is a little bit of a downside. So this would actually go to my hand as though it's just a regular treasure, because it is still worth 2,000 gold, so it is worth a nice little bit of money, but unfortunately cannot use it for its benefit of the weapon itself. The only people that can use magical swords are the fighter, clerics, and rogues. It'll actually give you information below on this chart down here. It'll give you a little asterisk stating that wizards cannot use magic swords, so it is something that it does kind of remind you of. Alright, so I did use my lightning bolt to do that. So this is dead. And now we put one of the little tombstones in it. So now the cleric is actually on his turn for real this time. He is going to try to defeat that drow again. So he needs a 9+. He is not doing particularly well. So at this point he lost again. So he's going to roll again on the chart here. He rolled a 7. So they are stunned. Drop 1 random treasure card. So all they do is drop a random treasure on this one. So they will be ending their turn, because they're still in that room fighting that drow. So since I defeated the lair the first time, I'm going to go ahead and pass through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This time I'm going to go into a room, and I'm going to go ahead and cast a spell again before I go into the room. And I'm going to shoot a fireball into that room. Now we reveal our actual monster, what it is. This is a black dragon. He is immune to rogues. A 12+ with a cleric, a 10+ with a warrior, a 12+ with a mage, a 7+ with a fireball, and it's immune to electricity. So luckily I chose fireball, because if I would have chose electricity, it would be immune. So we need to get a 7+ here. We got an 8, so we do defeat it. So I get another level 6 treasure. In this case, it is a huge emerald, which is worth 5,000, which is a pretty nice little bit of change there. So we know right now we're at 7,000, but we need to get to 30, so it could take quite a while before that actually occurs. Because again, like with the cleric, the 7,000's almost, got it completed. However, since we need 30,000, 7,000's about a fourth of it, so I mean, we're still a good ways away. So the cleric is going to proceed to fight again. Still need a 9 or more. So 7, they lose again. Back to the monster. They have a 4, which misses and no effect. So they're still fighting in there. The wizard's going to continue on and go through this door, and then there's another door behind it, so we're going to go to that door there. They are going to spend another fireball. And again, this is where you would reveal the monster after you declare. And this one requires an 8+. So again, we're going to do, in this case, 7, so I do not succeed. And this is again where you would mark the room. And this is going to keep going on and on and on until you have everything, until you have the treasure you need to win. So as I said, it's a very simple game. You could actually teach this to smaller children because the game is still simple enough to where, as long as they're able to count, if they're at that point where they can count, you just compare this number versus the card's number. So depending on if you're using a spell or if you're just doing a regular attack, or it is going to differ a little bit. But the lower level rooms do give a little, smaller treasure. For example, this cleric that keeps losing, there are some pretty good treasures. Like this one is 2,500, 1,000, 5,000, 5,000, 500, 3,000, 5,000. So a lot of these are pretty decent in value. So that is what a level 4 looks like. Whereas if you go into some of the level 6 treasures, 5,000, 9,000, 7,000, 10,000, 2,000, so on and so forth. And some of these actually have special abilities on it too. Some things you could take into consideration. For example, if you have this crystal ball, you can check a monster and treasure card like before you were to enter the room. So let's say if I were to go into this room, or if I was planning on going into that room, I can crystal ball it first to see what the monster and treasure is in it before I go into it. This is going to be really good as a mage because let's say if I want to shoot a spell in there before I come in, I can look at it first to make sure I pick a good spell for it. Or to see if the treasure is even worth it, because if the treasure is like, really small, then you may not necessarily want to do that. Or if it's a really big one like the 10,000, probably definitely want to go in there. Now that's in comparison to like the level 1 treasure, which isn't worth nearly as much. 500, 500, 750, 500, 1,000, and that's kind of the ballpark of most of those. Now to give you an idea a little more about the magic swords, because as I showed you, I did pick up one as the mage, but the mage can't actually use it, so here's another special card. So we're going to go over these two here. Now whenever I were to pick up this magic sword, you would place this face up in front of you and then roll 2d6. Between a 2 and 11, it'll be a +1 sword. Between and if you get 12, you get a +2. So in this case, I roll an 8, so you'll get a +1 modifier. And what this is for if you're using a rogue, cleric, or fighter, this will add +1 to whatever you roll. Now the magic sword I got from the level 6 dungeon is a little bit better because it's worth 2,000 instead of the 500. But the reason why this is a little bit better is the chances that it'll be a +2 is a little bit higher. Because for this one, it's between 2 and 6, it's a +1 sword. Between 7 and 12, it's +2. So in this case, I rolled a 10, it would make it a +2, so I would get +2 to my modifier instead of the +1. So this can be a little more beneficial if you're going to be fighting in the future. So now and there's little treasures that do other stuff within the decks as well, like this secret door card. You can move through all secret doors. So this might be really beneficial for someone that has a little more difficulty, but also helps you just go through the secret doors without having to search for them and possibly fail. And this one's worth 500, but it can be very, very useful for you as well. The teleport spells, something I didn't go over yet either. The teleport spells allow you to teleport to any chamber within one level of you. So as an example, if I'm in the level 6 area, I can teleport to anywhere within 5, 6, or this other 5. let's say if I was in the 3 area, I can teleport anywhere within any of the 3s. Sorry, the 3 or the 3, 1 below, which is 2, or 1 above, which is the 4s. So it does give you a lot of ability to move very, very quickly, because you can teleport, somewhere over here in 4. Because let's say if you're playing with someone else that's clearing a lot of these rooms, and you both kind of end up in the same area, and they're clearing the same area you are, you could just teleport to the other side. And it may not be, currently taken up by anyone else, and there might be a lot more space to do stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, that's overall the game itself. Like as I said, the components aren't the best. I mean, you could definitely replace some of the player markers with something better. The box doesn't really have any inside stuff. They literally just threw it in the box, so everything's kind of loose and all over the place. The artwork's a little bit better, because if you played the original, you'll probably remember that the artwork really wasn't very good in the original, but the artwork's a lot better. It definitely is a little bit nicer. Like you actually do get like pictures of like dragons and stuff. Big purple worm thing. So the artwork definitely looks a lot nicer than the previous edition. So, and that's why I said it definitely gives you that feel that this is a dungeon crawl. So if you are into like Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, this definitely gives you that feel of, this is a dungeon crawl, but it's not extremely complicated either, so you're not going to get the same feel that if you played like Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons from this, but it does kind of incorporate it into like a more simplified version. And I said it's very teachable to like younger children and stuff, or people that don't really game a lot in general. This might also be a very good intro into that kind of genre of game as well. But that's actually the game. As I said, once you get the certain amount of gold you need, the only thing you have to do at that point is get back to the Great Hall here. And once you make it to the Great Hall, you win the game. You can get killed through the chart here, but as I just follow what the chart says whenever you lose a battle on it. But overall, as I said, it's a really easy game. So definitely watch for future videos. I'm going to do more videos of different board games. So definitely watch if you like this video, comment on it, like it, subscribe if you're not subscribed to us. And we should have more videos in the future on different games. I'll be showing you how to play to see if maybe these are games that you might enjoy. So thank you for watching Rundlii Gaming, and you have a good day.